My name is Amy Forsyth, and I'm playing Gwen Strickland. It's mainly about a high school theater department that gets a new theater head that sort of changes the lives of the students and ultimately the school and the town in a very beautiful way. When we first meet Gwen, she's the queen bee of the school. She's the lead in all of the shows, but that is soon going to change. She just knows what she wants, she's determined, and she's going to do whatever it takes to get there. Selfishly, the musical numbers, because I was a musical theater nerd growing up. I just think that they're beautiful, and Tom Kitt has done some beautiful arrangements of some of the music, so I think that's really exciting. Oh, the table read's so great. They're always terrifying, but it's just so great to hear these characters that you've read a few times come to life, and everyone is so different but comes together so beautifully, and it's just amazing to be in that room and have everybody there and know that that's the beginning of the whole thing. It's just a really magical moment. I think a lot of people can relate to the characters in Rise, whether you were in theater or not. Theater brings people together, and especially in our show, we have people who are football players, we have people who are transgendered, we have people who are dealing with alcoholism. We have real people. I think we have an amazing, fearless leader. Jason Katims is one of the masterminds of this TV world, and he brings an authenticity to every show that he touches, and it's just amazing to have him write so honestly, and I think that there's somebody for everyone to relate to. I think this show is sort of timeless. I think that regardless of what we're going through in society and in our personal lives, there's always something about one character that people are able to grasp onto and connect to, and I think that hopefully it sparks conversation between friends and family, and hopefully we represent enough people that they can use it as examples or be inspired by it, but I do think it's going to be a conversation starter for sure.
My name is Auli'I Cravalho, and I am Lilette Suarez. Rise is an amazing blend of realism and things that we aspire to become. And I say that because as a character, someone playing a character, I realize that the town that it's set in is very realistic. It's about these individuals who come from very different walks of life and come together for school. When they come, they realize that they have similarities and differences and things that they can play off of their real life to bring to theater, something that none of them really expected, and something that is bigger than themselves. Lilette Suarez is my character, and she is an interesting one. She's strong and vulnerable, and personally I think she's someone who has a lot to protect herself from. So whereas she might come off as shy and maybe innocent, she's realized quite a lot, and she's seen a lot through her mom and through relationships around her, and because of her mom's either mistakes or decisions in general, there are a lot of thoughts that are passed on to her, thoughts that aren't correct at all, but I mean, high school's tough, so she's strong and she deals with it. I absolutely relate to Lilette. She's not necessarily a lost soul, but she is finding her way, which I think is something that really everyone can relate to. High school is high school. Lilette is a teenager, and through drama, through theater, she realizes that she finds a passion. She realizes that not only does she enjoy acting and singing and performing on stage, but she also really appreciates the bond and the community of theater. And that's something that I can relate to more than anything. If I could have my theater troupe, or if I could have my cast as my family, and I could have them 24/7, there'd be no greater day. I think it's really important for shows to show realism, because I don't want to watch something that I can't relate to. And Rise is, I mean, from the title to the characters to the scene to the setting, everything is relatable. It's inspired by real life, and it inspires those in real life. I know it's inspired me to realize, okay, I might not have everything figured out, but through a close-knit family and through, family that I create myself, I can get myself out of any situation possible. And I think it's so important that we show this to everyone else, that music and that theater and that relationships in general can really take you out of any circumstance. I was in my theater troupe when I'm still in high school, but a few years ago, and I was like not the star of anything, but I loved theater. And I'm grateful that the role chose me. A specific moment in the pilot I would like for everyone to see would have to be the Spring Awakening montage. It's a montage of all of our different songs. So Robbie is singing, rapping with his own style, bringing his character and bringing all of his life into that. And I mean, granted, we're all teenagers, which is amazing, because while, we perhaps don't have as much experience as those adults, we certainly have things to say. And so through our songs that we perform in Spring Awakening, we bring whatever background we have. For Lilette, it's having a mother who is loving, but not supportive in the way that she needs her to be. And Mama Who Bore Me is the song, and it's just so many different emotions that clash and that complement, and I'm really excited for everyone to see it. This show is about students who decide to rise from their circumstances and become the people they hope to be. If you like seeing how music and theater can influence people and change their lives, then you will love this show. This is a show about trans youth, about people who don't know where to go, about people who are stuck in a rut and they can't get out. Because, again, it's real life. Life doesn't just hand you what you want. And sometimes you need not just, a parent to help you out. Sometimes you need a whole troupe.
Hi, I'm Casey Johnson. I play Gordy Mazzuchelli on Rise. Thinks a lot, struggles a lot with alcohol and things of that nature. And he's really just trying to find his way and get along life just like everybody else. Yeah, so Gordy and his father definitely go through issues, and they have, their times where they're not doing too well. But I mean, he is Gordy's dad ultimately, so he has to, he still loves him and stuff, but it's probably doesn't show as much as he actually feels. My initial thoughts when I first got the script was, it's amazing. Like, you read scripts and they're good, but then you get a certain script that you read and you're just like, man, this is great. And when it moves you and you get emotional, that's literally when I knew. I was like, man, I want to be a part of this project, and luckily I ended up being a part of it, so yeah. A particular moment in the pilot that moved me was was when they're all like on a campfire and they all accept Lou back. And that was one of the moments that I was like, man, this is something I could see myself a part of, because it's not just about kids' lives, but it's about redemption and finding their way through things that a lot of people are tough and have a struggle doing. I think it's great that this show is addressing such tough issues that a lot of kids go through, because a lot of kids do go through it and they feel like they can't talk about it, or they're trying to hide it. And being able to show that to a lot of people, and people to be able to relate to things that normally kind of get swept under the rug or forgotten about, it would be great for them to talk about and maybe be able to relate to, so it's going to be great. Gordy's relatable to everybody. I think anybody can relate to anybody in a certain aspect of their life, and just struggling with loneliness and in tough times is something that everyone can relate to and look at and hopefully get a new sense of thing for them. To see the pilot come to life it's amazing, you know. First you get the script, and then you audition, and then you do all the things that you have to do to be able to work on it, and then to see it all happen is like almost magical, to just see everything and kind of be able to have it in real life actually happening is great. So if I were writing the show and I could just create whatever I wanted to, and for Gordy, I would have him, you know, come out of this alcoholism and just be someone that inspires people and helps people. To be able to empower kids has, I mean, been a dream of mine, and I hope I can do that every single day of my life. But to be able to have a character that I feel like really can do that and move a lot of people and have a lot of kids relate to it, it's really an unbelievable experience, and I'm so happy to be a part of, and I'm going to do my absolute hardest to make sure that I do it justice and that it's the best that it can be. So to be a part of a show that addresses issues like that has been something like I've always dreamed about. It's something that I want to be an actor for. That's why I want to do it. I want to inspire people and to live a life that people can relate to and that I can relate to ultimately. And it's amazing, the cast and everybody, even the crew, the producers, they all have such passion for this project. And it's like such a weird revival, like around each other, that it's just like we're ready to show people and inspire as many people that we can.
The premise of Rise is this English teacher takes over the theater department, and he decides to do one of the most risque musicals in the repertoire of musicals at the moment, which is Spring Awakening. And he, instead of just using his theater folk, he grabs people from the choir and one of them is a football player who, you know, it's just, he breaks the status quo, and it just causes a lot of commotion. I play Robbie Thorne, and he is like the very like stoic person, where you just, if he's upset, he's not gonna let you see it. He's just gonna kind of let it hit him and then just kind of brush it off his shoulder. But when he finds out about the musical, he's the football player, by the way. So when he finds out like about the musical and he actually reads it, he's really intrigued, and he's kind of been told what to do his entire life. So, especially by his dad. So he kind of goes, you know what, this may be my one moment to kind of think on my own and do something that I may be really passionate about, as opposed to just playing football, which everyone does. So it's like, oh, well, maybe something new is something great. Robbie is actually really close to me. I used to play football. I used to be like, I grew up dancing, but like musicals I'd never heard of. musicals was like, I was like, I don't even know what that is. Like, what, the only musical I'd even known was Grease, and I didn't even know that was a musical. It's just a movie that I watched as a kid. So when I heard about this and I read it and saw that he like does all these different things and like was a rapper and like could also sing, I was like, this is me. Like, and he and I kind of come from the same background where we grew up in not the wealthiest of places, but we still like made it work and kind of just had to do what we had to do to get by. But we also like were some of the best at what we needed to do. So it's very close to my heart, whether it's the musical Spring Awakening that we're doing or Robbie himself. I think Robbie's going to resonate with a lot of people. He is breaking the status quo, even though he doesn't have the privilege and or opportunity to do so. He's just going to do it because he wants to. And I think Robbie will really resonate because most people in this world usually just do what their parents say, even though they really don't want to. And oftentimes we don't really go against what our parents say until we get into college. We're 3 years in and we go, this is not what I wanted to do, and it's almost too late. So I think that, you know, as a high schooler, Robbie is making that decision already, and I think everyone kind of wants to make those decisions and just say, forget the risks and just go for it. As soon as I read the pep rally scene, I was like, I cannot wait for this. This is going to be awesome, because it's a little selfish because a lot of people don't really know that I can rap, and Robbie kind of goes in like this freestyle. Like, I can't freestyle, but when I sit down and write, it's actually really good, if I do say so myself. And a lot of people, unless you're like really close to me, like my family members or a significant other, like, they don't really know that I can actually do that. And I think when I step out onto the stage and actually have like a mic and actually start rapping, it's like, whoa, I never would have expected that. So, and it's also like, you get in front of a group of like 500 people and you're just like, they're just screaming for you. Like I don't care if you want to be selfish or not, like, that's awesome.
I think what's at the very heart of Rise is love. And I'm talking specifically like off screen. We as a troupe and the other characters who aren't like in the cast of Spring Awakening, we have such a great rapport with each other and we get along so well. We like are like siblings. It's super cool. In the beginning of the season, Michael came out as Michael to the cast, like in the theater. And for the rest of the season, he's grown into himself. And I think that what helped him was being around people who just accepted him right off the bat. And he just has become so comfortable. And I think that's what I've noticed most about my character, is that he's just so comfortable. The first few episodes, I think that he was kind of easing into the cast, and because he'd never had done theater before. So, yeah, I think that's the coolest thing about his journey. Along the way, also, he revives his friendship with an old friend, and that is really helpful for him because they're both in the cast together, and that even made him much more comfortable as well. So I think comfortable is the right word to describe him, and that was kind of his journey, is that he figured out how to be comfortable with himself. This show relates to my high school experience in regards to being with a bunch of people that I have fun with. it's not the theater, the type of theater that I did in high school was not like, we never did Spring Awakening, or we never did stuff like that. No musicals like that were new and exciting. So I think the most similar experience that I can relate to is just being around people that I have fun with and can joke with like all day long. My college only offered acting for the camera 1 and 2. I took them both twice. So I took four semesters of acting for the camera, and my professor changed it up for me the second times I took the classes. So he helped me so much from when I decided, I was like, I want to act on camera. Like, I want to do screen acting. That's going to be my career. So he's been so important to me and my career, because that's where I came from. Those are my roots, I feel like. Being with the cast, like, pretty much every single day of the week, it's so much fun. Like, I look forward to coming to work every single day. I think it's very important to show off young kids going through the arts in high school, because I remember when I was in high school, they were thinking of cutting the music department, I would say, but they were thinking of cutting marching band and chorus and all of that, and it was disturbing to me that would no longer be there. It ended up not happening, thank God, but just the fear of something that means so much to you and something that helps you express who you are, the fear of that getting cut from your life as a young person, a person who's very impressionable, that is terrifying, and that's a terrifying reality that is happening across America to so many schools, and especially in this political climate where they're trying to cut arts from like the world. They're trying to cut the arts from the country, and that is terrifying, because the arts are such a good place for high schoolers to express themselves, express who they are, and learn about themselves and learn about life. So that's why it's important that we're telling this story, that we're showing it as this story with the young people, and that's why we're not showing this story with college students, you know? It's because young kids are so impressionable, and the audience watching, they're going to fall in love with the show.
I am Jason Katims. I'm the executive producer, creator of the show, and I'll be the writer, showrunner. The premise of the show is Lou, who's this English teacher in a public high school in Pennsylvania, and he takes over, almost on a lark, he takes over the theater department. He has no experience teaching drama, no experience acting or directing, and but he creates this really beautiful program that changes the lives of a lot of these kids and changes his own life in the process. And the tone of the show, what we want it to feel like, is we want it to feel authentic. I mean, that's the word we keep coming back to as we're, preparing to shoot. We want it to feel real. It's a show that's about, high school theater and musicals and all that, but we don't want it to feel like sort of over the top. I think this feels like as if you're dropped down into this town and you know these people, and you're not looking at them from a distance. You're there with them and experiencing it with them. And we think that's what's going to make it even more powerful, because when you see these kids in their home environments and you see their struggles, it'll be more powerful than sort of see them in this theater when they really are able to kind of come out of their shells. They're able to sort of become, their lives start to become bigger than they ever imagined them to be. I love doing stories about characters. I love about people, about like the nuance of characters, about just the stuff of life, and you know, stories that are emotional, that make you feel. And you know, I've been really lucky enough to do shows like Parenthood and Friday Night Lights, where that was really sort of the lifeblood of those shows. And that's what has attracted me to this show. You know, I feel like this show has all of those elements that, you know, you really get invested and care about these people, you love them. You know, you feel like you're not watching them, but that you're watching people that you know, and that you're you know, they're your friends, they're your family. They could be people that you sort of know now or grew up with, and that's what I, you know, why I, you know, I'm so excited about doing this show. The kids in the story are, you know, are amazing, you know, and they're all, of course, incredibly talented, but they're also sort of dealing with so many things. You know, they're dealing with, you know, sort of their sexual identity, their gender identity, you know, alcoholism, abuse of alcohol, you know, homelessness, you know, and just generally, you know, just that the push and pull between of what it's like to be, you know, living in high school now. And, you know, there's a lot of great also stories about families. You know, it's not just the show that takes place in this, in the theater. You know, I mean, that's a huge part of the show, but one of the things that I'm most excited about is the stories about their family stories. We go home with them, we see what they're dealing with. And I think that will make it more poignant to then see them thrive in this theater and come to life and start to have a larger sense of their own potential. I think if you like great television, you'll like this show. I think if you like great character stories, you'll like this show. I think if you like musical theater, you'll like this show. I think if you like Hamilton or Rent or Spring Awakening, you'll like this show. I think if you like Parenthood or Friday Night Lights, you'll like this show. I think if you like This Is Us, you'll like this show. I think if you like people, you'll like the show. I think if you don't like people, you might not like the show.
It's an emotional show. Everybody in that show is striving for something. The high school teacher, Lou, has wanted to do this job, to become the director of the drama program for years. He finally gets the guts to give it a go. The students are being asked to do something by Lou that they've never done before, to take risks that they've never done before. And in that stretching, there is an enormous sense of catharsis and inspiration. I am Lou. I taught drama at summer camp all 3 years of my college career. I taught 9th graders. And for me, teaching and theater have been integral to my entire life and my entire professional life. Life ain't easy, baby. It's not easy for anyone, whether they are a teacher, a principal, an assistant director, or a student that may be struggling with homosexuality, who may be struggling with gender issues, who may be struggling with alcoholism, who may be struggling with learning disabilities. And I think that one of the greatest strengths of our writer-creator, Jason Katims, is exploring those people with the greatest sense of empathy and humanity possible. This show is about a high school drama teacher who lifts up his students, inspires a high school, and changes a community for good. This show does not have its tongue in its cheek. This show is not a satire. This show is what it's really like to be rehearsing a play at 3:30 after I've already been in school for 7 hours. Finding that extra ounce of inspiration after the day has already been completed at high school that creates something where it didn't exist before. It's making something out of nothing. And it's making something that sometimes is fantastic. The words are always what let me know that something special is at work here. And the first time I opened up the pilot that Jason Katims wrote, I knew that we had something unlike anything else on television, and something that was emotionally surprising. What I want to share with people is this story of young people and teachers and community members who are taking themselves to places they didn't think they could go, who are stretching themselves in ways that they never thought they could do. It's people surprising themselves with their own potential, people surprising themselves with their own pockets of inspiration that are just dying to come out.
Well, my character Lou is an English teacher at this high school in a working class town in Pennsylvania, and he's just kind of spinning his wheels, feeling a little uninspired. There's some tough stuff going on at home with one of his kids, and he just decides to march into the principal's office one day and put his hat in the ring for this job to take over the drama department. The previous head of the drama department had been retiring. He has no experience as a theater director. He just decides, he loves theater, and he just decides he's going to go for it, and he gets the job. So that shakes things up in his home life, and it certainly shakes things up in the drama department. There's, the story shifts from Lou and his home life back to the school and follows all the students into their home lives. So it's really a big kind of tapestry of these lives in this town. You know, it's about family and, I think like the roles we play, for each other. And a lot of these kids, some of the kids have been doing the musicals for years. Some of them he recruits that have never acted before, and he's never directed before. So there's this sense of newness and fear of failure and possibility and transformation, and it's a whole host of good stuff. I love Jason Katims' writing. That's largely why I wanted to do this. And but I think this is such a great backdrop because I started off acting in a high school drama department, much like this one, and it's why I'm an actor. So it just feels like a really complicated, like, social fabric to explore, individual issues, but also these collective issues. There's this like tension between, the football program and the drama program, and there's tension in terms of race, class, gender identity, all these different things. You've got this drama department who's doing this daring, provocative piece, at least in the pilot. So it'll be interesting. I think it's a perfect kind of petri dish to look at what the chemical, reactions that'll happen. One of the reasons would be that you don't want to shy away from all that stuff is because that's great. That's the stuff of great drama. It's combustible. You got parents that want their kid to be safe, and their kid is drinking, kind of problematically drinking. So that's great stuff. There are a lot of wonderful, like, children and young adult authors who say, don't shy away from the dark stuff because kids understand it. Teenagers certainly understand it. And if you're going to do some sort of sugar-coated thing about teenagers and parents and teachers and students, people can smell when that's phony. And they don't. I don't think we want to watch that because it doesn't resonate with us. It doesn't feel like our real lives. So I think when you see something that, and Jason's so brilliant at that, but when you see something that really smells authentic and feels like I know these people and these people are me, you know. And I think you do a disservice by not addressing some of these issues. You know, it's hard to be a teenager. It's hard to be an adult. It's hard to be a kid. And I think good art will always honor that and address that. I think it's really smartly conceived in terms of, like I said, it's kind of set in this working class town that's, you know, factories have closed, there's teacher layoffs, there's this kind of sense that, or this worry that like, are our best days behind us? And I think that Lou feels that too. So it's a moment of crisis and introspection, and it's at a crossroads, the town, I mean, and the people who live there. So, but high school is this really vibrant laboratory for examining who you are and what you believe in, and do you believe the same things your parents believed? Are you shedding some of that and stepping into your own belief system? Are you clinging to that really ferociously? So I think there's something fascinating about the mix or the tension between the sad kind of underbelly of what the town might be going through, but also the excitement of being alive and being a student and stepping into a play for the first time. And what does that do to you? And you start to see some of these kids, you know, it's almost like they're plants that have been watered after a really long time. They start to really come alive. And you see it in Robbie, the quarterback, you know, when he's talking to his mom about how much this character's gotten under his skin and how it's suddenly just more exciting to him than football. I mean, nothing against football, but I think, like I said, you know, the theater at its best can be a real teacher of compassion and empathy. And if nothing else, I think that is a great kind of water cooler discussion, you know, around watching people open up and, yeah, just become a little less locked into their own perspective and their own stories.
My name is Marley Shelton, and I'm playing Gail Maashous. So this project is called Rise, and it's about a very typical average high school with a very above average, in fact, extraordinary drama department. And this amazing teacher comes in and just decides to revamp the sort of underfed drama department, and he galvanizes the students and the community and makes incredible things happen. He makes the extraordinary happen in the ordinary. You know, well, I really relate to Gail because I'm a mother, and so I feel her sense of need to nurture her family and also her understanding of her husband's needs and trying to balance that with her own career and life. And also, my sister happens to be a piano teacher to kids, and she has 3 children, and she also directs musical theater for children. So I felt like, oh my gosh, what an amazing resource. I can just call my sister Erin and ask her for some guidance. I think what's so special about this particular show, Rise, is that it really taps into real life issues and things that kids and adults are struggling with in a very authentic, relatable way. And I think it's really important for families to get to see other families struggling with these issues and dealing with them. And I think there's going to be a real point of identification for audiences because it's just Anytown, USA, and lives are complicated, and kids are complicated, and adults are complicated, and I think this show has a really beautiful look into what makes us tick. I was involved in the drama department at my high school. I'll never forget, our first production was Fame, and I remember singing Hot Lunch. That was like the big number. And this show is bringing back so many memories for me and such a sense of nostalgia. And high school is such an interesting time because it's 4 years. So it's a drop in the bucket in the big scheme, but at the time, it feels like the longest period of your life. And when you look back, it still feels like it was the longest period of your life. And so I think it's seared in our memories, and certainly the drama department helped me get through that period. There's a lot of twists and turns in this pilot, and I think it's really going to surprise people because it's very groundbreaking. There's never been anything quite like it, and I think tonally it's really refreshing and cool and edgy, and yet, like I said before, also very authentic, and I think we're going to great lengths to give it a sense of realism and on almost cinema verite, and I think that mixed with the music and the choreography, I think people are really going to be in for a treat. Yesterday we had our first table read for the show, and I have to tell you, it was one of the most exciting experiences I've ever been a part of or witnessed, because I've never been a part of a table read where we intermittently were treated to the most stunning performances. The kids, the teenagers, we had a piano and they sang parts of the musicals, and they were absolutely breathtaking. And to see how it flowed in and out of the story was so exciting, because we all read the script obviously, and could imagine what it would be like, but to actually get a glimpse and hear it and see it, I felt very honored and like I was a part of something really special and really groundbreaking, and it was a sort of pinch yourself moment, surreal and sort of out of body. We all kept looking at each other saying, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And the cast that's been assembled I just think everyone has something so unique to bring to the table. It's so, rare that you get to play with such a big cast and have so many different characters and different angles into the story and different points of view. And I think that's really gonna be a treat for audiences. If you like Friday Night Lights, you will love this show. If you like Hamilton or Spring Awakening or any other musicals, you're going to love this show. It's going to be this incredible, feisty blend of musical theater and some really truthful, authentic drama, and hopefully some comedy too. Because let's face it, human beings are very funny.
I'm Rarmian Newton. On Rise, I play Maashous. The show Rise is set in a high school, and basically it's a kind of a low-budget public school, and teachers are being fired left, right, and center. And one of the English teachers decides he wants to take over the theatre program. He has no experience, but he has a passion for theatre, and I guess that is all you really need, and a creative spirit and everything, and you could inspire. And that's what happens with these students who kind of lack the inspiration. He's kind of like the fly on the wall in the background of like in the cast. But then he's come from a broken home. He's always been in and out of foster care, and he's moved from so many different schools that he doesn't actually get the opportunity to connect with friends. So this show kind of, and as the show progresses, gives Maashous a chance through theatre to kind of come out of his shell and actually make real connections with people. I think that's what is so special about this show. It shows how theatre can really transform somebody who is struggling with their own individuality. I wanted to be a part of this project because I want to show kind of the world musical theatre that isn't on TV as much, isn't the kind of shows that they're smash hits on Broadway, but they might have like more adult content on there. But I think all of these kinds of themes in these shows need to be placed at face value, and because that brings things to the surface and it stops us from alienating each other. And that is, when you put that kind of content in a show and show that kind of struggle with music, it transcends, like, I guess, your regular traditional musical theatre. What I really love about the show is that it's set in reality. It's not, I mean, we have themes from alcoholism to gender identity to, I guess, my own character, foster care. So, and a lot of these wouldn't necessarily be kind of highlighted as much in, in, say, a musical theatre show. And I guess it really brings these issues to the surface. And I think that's really important for somebody who is at home watching the TV show, who's struggling with the same issues. As actors, we have real responsibilities, and it's empowering and inspiring to feel like, what you're doing can actually help somebody and change their life. I think everybody at one point in their life becomes alienated, no matter how social they are, no matter how much they think that they have great friends, which they probably do, but like, there's always a sense, like, every now and then, whether something happens in their life that makes them feel like they don't have the family or don't have the support or they don't even connect with them. And I think that that's a good thing to see in Maashous, and to kind of see that is more common than people think. It's amazing to be working on a show that kind of puts together everything that I've kind of fallen in love with through any kind of performance art, singing, dancing, acting. I mean, that's where I began. That was my roots. So it's pretty cool. I think what makes this different and from other musical shows, and is so special that we get this opportunity, is that we get to show everybody what some musical theatre that isn't just kind of jukebox musical theatre. It isn't just singing a song and dancing for fun, but songs and music that hit a deeper level, and it's real, and I like that. I would say, honestly, if you like Spring Awakening, The Color Purple, Hamilton, all those musicals, you're going to love this show. It brings that kind of musical theatre to home.
The premise of Rise is about how a community comes together, and it all takes place in the drama department, and it's really about supporting children and bringing the arts into the education system and helping them develop into young adults. There are many reasons why I wanted to be part of Rise. The obvious is that I believe in the arts, and I know that the arts can change a child's life. And I truly believe that in our nation, art should be in every single public school. And unfortunately, that is not the case. So I hope that this show can be an advocate for that. But more importantly, I personally know firsthand how the arts can change a person, because, like my character, I was a difficult child. I had a difficult childhood. It was bittersweet, more bitter than sweet. And I became a very introverted yet angry person. And there was a class trip that took us to Broadway, and we saw 2 shows. One of them were The Moment Shines, and the second one was The Wiz, starring Stephanie Mills. And when I saw her up on the stage, a girl that didn't have a mom and dad and was living with her aunt, it broke something inside of me because I was living with my aunt. She was raising me. And I remember crying in that theater. And I wasn't embarrassed. And normally I would have been. Normally I wouldn't have even had shed a tear. And because I had to remain tough, I had built that wall so well. And the arts, that play, tore that wall down. And thank goodness it did, because it really made me a better person. It's so important that they pay homage to the truth and show how many kids are living with such dysfunctional families, with such stress and with such strife, and how there are adults in the world that do care and that do want to help a kid. You know, and the various different issues that are played out are extraordinary, you know? I mean, you deal with alcoholism, you deal with gender issues, you deal with race issues, you deal with all types of bigotry, and a child shouldn't have to endure that, but in the real world, that's the case. And so I feel that when I read this script, when I read Rise, I was like, they are bringing the real world to the small screen, and I want to be a part of it. There were two really big things that stood out when I read this pilot. One was how Tracy, my character that I play, stands up to the system. She stands up and says, no. And she bands together with the kids. And she looks to Lou's character, Josh's character, and says, I'm all in. We're gonna fight this together. And I thought that was fantastic. That, I was like, but the biggest thing that moved me in Rise is when Josh's character takes Maashous home, a foster kid. I was part of the foster care system. I was a ward of the state. So when I read that part, that here Lou's character has a home life that has a lot of problems, Still, he says, I have room for one more. If everybody opened up their heart like that, the world would be a better place. And so it's beautiful. It's a lovely thing. What makes this show different from other kind of musical television shows is that it isn't camp. It's based in reality. You know, there's nothing campy in regards to the kids' performance. It's real, it's rooted, and it's moving. You know, there's a reason why they're doing certain pieces in this show. And also, the kids' lives. Their lives are real. They are based on real stories. And so, you know, even if you might say, oh, that's just so, you know, melodramatic. No, it's not. It's real. Because these stories actually did happen. And that's the difference. There is truth in these series. If you like musical theater, if you like drama, if you like comedy, if you like truthfulness and heart, you're gonna love this show.
My name is Shannon and I'll be playing Annabelle. Rise is about a small town that's sort of been reeling from a lot of brokenness, and they kind of find solace in this theater program that undergoes a big change when a new teacher decides to take over. Annabelle is a theater kid through and through, so she loves the theater. She's been a part of it for a long time and is you know, kind of connected with everybody and is kind of a regular of the theater. So she's talented and she loves to perform and she really wants to be in this musical. I think I relate to her, to Annabelle, in the sense that, I mean, obviously I love musical theater. That's what I grew up doing. That's how I got my start in acting, was singing and dancing in high school with all my friends. And I understand, you know, being so passionate about something in the way that she is. So I think we're similar in a lot of ways. The show definitely does deal with some, I guess, topics that might be considered more traditionally adult. But the fact is that not just grown-ups go through these things. In fact, a lot of the struggles in our lives, you know, sort of come into play when we're growing up, when we're in high school, when we're going through puberty and everything's changing. And I think it's really important that kids find a way to see themselves on TV and to find somebody that they can relate to. So I think what we're doing here is really important because I know from personal experience, it's such a relief to see a story and to find yourself in a character on screen. There are a lot of really beautiful moments, even, you know, just in the pilot, which is amazing. But I think definitely the end of the episode is kind of the climax of everything. We've all been working together and rehearsing, and it just is this really beautiful moment where we sort of unify as a team and everything comes together. So I can't wait for everyone to see that. It's everything. I mean, getting to really put your heart out on screen and you know, connect emotionally with the audience is such a powerful thing, and I think it's such a big part of why we do what we do, because we love people and we're fascinated by them, and we want to make these human connections with each other as actors and with the viewers. So, I mean, this is the most fulfilling thing I've ever done.
Hi, my name's Shirley Rumierk, and I play Vanessa Suarez on the show. The show is about this wonderful teacher who galvanizes his students and the whole town, really, through the means of the arts, and really just champions their efforts and their skills. It's about a teacher who doesn't have a lot of experience running a theater department and has quite the sort of ragtag team of students to put a production of Spring Awakening together and make it happen. I play Vanessa Suarez. She's a hardworking, unapologetic, no-nonsense single mother to Lilette. The relationship between my character, Vanessa Suarez, and her daughter, Lilette, who's one of the students in the production of Spring Awakening, is very complex. I'm very familiar with that relationship. I was raised as an only child by my mother. And the mother-daughter dynamic in a single-family household is a very complex relationship that I am very, very familiar with. It is sometimes a dynamic where you don't know who the parent is, and those roles get flipped. Sometimes there's also a feeling of sibling rivalry that happens between mother-daughter in those relationships, and sometimes also there's a feeling of a girlfriend relationship between the two because it's just the two at home. And there's also a very tight bond because of a lot of the experiences that they've survived through. And it's very rich and it's very complex. What drew me to the part was the strength of the character and how it was written with so much empathy and complexity. But what also drew me to the script itself is the power of the theater, the power of the arts, and how it can transcend and how it can create a wonderful safe space for exploration, to be yourself, provide catharsis. It's really, really just a lovely, lovely, lovely script. And on one of the table reads, I heard the kids singing, and it just, I got goosebumps. I got teary-eyed at the end. I couldn't help it. It's just, their voices are fantastic, fantastic. And to me, it really evokes the essence of the script and what it tries to cut across. I think they'll relate to the show, even people who are not necessarily theater goers or were big into theater in high school, because the script, what it talks about is just the essence of relationships, parent-child relationships, relationships of discovering yourself when you're in high school, challenging yourself as an adult, maybe even rising to the occasion as a parent when you see your child maybe challenging you. I think that for my character, Vanessa Suarez's character, I think parents will be able to relate to that character very much, whether a single parent or not, because one of the things that this relationship touches on is the moment that a parent fails their child and fails their child in a big way. And we're all human, and it will always happen at some point to some parent along the way, which I'm a parent now and I'm very worried about it. But I think that that moment when a parent fails a child, although it's very human, it's extremely heartbreaking. And I think it'll be something that would be cathartic for others to watch, whether they've been on the receiving end or on the giving end of the letdown. It's imperative for a show like this to include real-life issues, because I think there's a habit of talking down to teens, and they're very much adults. I think even before being teens, even when they're 2 years old, it's very important not to talk down, to talk to them as an adult, to really listen to their concerns as they're valid. And I think that in the long run, that helps in improving their relationship as a parent, as a mentor, as an adult. And that's what I appreciate about this script, that it does not water it down, the issues, it hits it dead on, and all its complexities. And I think that is very important, especially for young people to see. In my opinion, what makes this show different from the other shows that incorporated music and musical theater is that this is a drama. It's not kitschy, it's not a comedy, this is a drama, and it's taken very seriously. I mean, you do have some lighthearted moments here and there, but it's taken very, very seriously, and I think that mixed with the layering of contemporary issues that are going on, it just gives it all the more weight. And I have to say, as someone who's done television, it's so refreshing to bring the musical element to it. It just feels like it heightens the script even more. If you like family dynamics, you'll love this show. If you like freedom of expression, you'll love this show. If you like profound quality television, you'll like this show. I personally want to share this show because I want the audience to see what the arts, the profound effect that the arts had in my life, and how it took me from a situation, the arts, where in my neighborhood it wasn't the best of neighborhoods, but it gave me hope. So I want the audience to see how the arts can provide hope in otherwise hopeless situations.
My name is Taylor Richardson, and I play Caitlin. Rise is all about a rundown town, and more specifically, the drama program. And then the English teacher decides he wants to bring new life to the program, and it ends up really inspiring the whole school and the town. Is the daughter of Lou and Gail, and she is a huge fan of theater, particularly Hamilton, and she's very supportive of her dad becoming the director of the theater department at her high school. The table read was amazing. It was so incredible just to hear these beautiful words and beautiful story all put together with all of the incredible actors, and even hearing some of the musical numbers being performed. Well, I think that issues like, people being transgender or alcoholism, especially in teens, that's very overlooked, but it's very real. These are things that so many kids all over the world are dealing with, and they're very underrepresented on television. And I think it's something that a lot of people need to become more aware of and understand, so that we relate and we can really accept everyone. I cannot wait for when the cast performs musical numbers from Spring Awakening. The music is really beautiful, and it's so touching and just gets to your heart. I was in Annie on Broadway when I was 11 and 12, so I've really grown up in the theater community, so it's something that's really special, and it really touches everyone. If I could only use 3 words to describe Rise, I would describe it as hope, acceptance, and passion. Rise is very authentic and real because, these people that come from all different walks of life, these teens, and how they find a sort of solace and hope and joy and community in the theater department, that's something very real. And not a lot of people understand that or get to see it on television. I think Rise will definitely strike conversations between people because the theater departments are always, and the arts programs are always being cut from schools, and they are so, so important to so many kids, and it changes lives, and people need to see that they need to recognize that and how special the arts are. With Rise, I really want to bring just the joy of theater and the arts and what it can do for people and kids and for our whole community, and how it can share such special messages with all different kinds of people.
Hi, I'm Ted Sutherland, and I play Simon Saunders. This show is about a high school drama club, and we've kind of been doing the same shows over and over again, like Grease, and a new teacher comes in to head the department, and kind of has us do a musical that's outside the box, and that show kind of affects the different characters personally, and it changes, I don't know, them as people. Simon is kind of a very straight-laced character that is struggling with a lot of things internally, and those struggles, he works through them through this new musical, through Spring Awakening. And yeah, it's about it helps him develop and deal with those. I think it's incredibly important that we address these issues, because these are the real issues that affect people. Not everything is shining and happy all the time. These are like real life issues that really affect people. So absolutely we need to address them. I actually didn't go to like a conventional high school, but I was involved in my community's local youth theater. So I know all these characters. Like I've rehearsed with these people. I've hung out with these people. I know them. So absolutely, these are not foreign to me at all. When we all come together and sing I Believe, it really is beautiful. And even in the rehearsal process, I was blown away. Really incredible. So I can't wait for people to hear that. It's inspiring. It was a little overwhelming, kind of. I mean, it's this huge cast in a very tiny room, and we're all I don't know, it was kind of the first time we had performed all the stuff that we'd been rehearsing, you know, for the past kind of week or so. So it was a little scary, especially being in front of some very powerful people. But yeah, it was a blast. I'd say that this show is about a group of people kind of figuring out who they are and their own identities through this show, through this experience that they're having together. That, yeah, and discovering their identities. Even if you just look at the pilot, the characters that we're bringing, I mean, their stories absolutely need to be told and can be discussed.
This show is set in a high school, and the drama department is a little bit underdeveloped in the sense that they've been doing the same musicals, and it doesn't feel quite as inspiring and passionate as it should be, certainly to one professor. About this English teacher who decided to take over the drama department and really challenge it, and in so doing lifts the community, lifts the students, and creates something that's really special. And I'm very personally attached to this material because it's a real celebration of teachers and arts education and how important it is. So to be telling the story feels just very important, and I'm really honored to be a part of this team doing so. I am a composer, arranger, orchestrator who's worked on Broadway and done some television and film. I recently did Grease Live, and I've composed Next to Normal, If Then. I worked on the musical arrangements for American Idiot. I've done arrangements for Pitch Perfect. And I've loved my time getting to work on television. I just had such a blast working on Grease Live. And Jeffrey Seller also produced my first musical on Broadway, High Fidelity. So Jeffrey called me, and as I told Jeffrey when I first met with him, when Jeffrey Seller calls, I get very happy and excited. And that was certainly enough to entice me and want to jump on board. But Jason Katims, someone who is such a gifted writer, he's created television that's been so emotional and meant so much to so many people. Reading his script was such a pleasure, and I was hooked right away. So I got to come in and meet the team, the chance to work with Bob Greenblatt and everyone at NBC, on and on. This is just such a special world to be a part of, and again, to be able to tell this story. For me, not so much as a composer, but as a musical director, I love to work with actors, in this case, very young, gifted actors, to create the authenticity of a high school world, but also be able to celebrate what makes them so unique and special as performers. And also to work on arrangements, to be able to work on a musical that meant so much to me, Spring Awakening, and find a way to honor that material, but also have it feel brand new in this setting of it, and how, again, it tells the story of this inspirational teacher. So the chance to work with this group of young actors, just in the 2 rehearsals that I've done up to this point, it's been an extraordinary experience. They're all so talented. I think the challenge for them, because as I told them the first day, we're shooting a pilot. This is just step 1, and you all come to us fully formed, but the characters can't necessarily be fully formed yet. They have to have an arc. So in some cases, we have to marginalize a little bit their talent so that it doesn't come full on right away and we have nowhere to go. And that's challenging with someone who you just want them to open up and sing to the rafters and move you. So that's been a challenge, but they've been game for that, and they've really helped me to collaborate on what version that might be. So otherwise, it's just been dreamy to be in the room with them. They're so focused, attentive. They obviously love this art form, and they feel as passionate as we do about telling the story and doing it in the right way. Well, the key for me, and it's why I love being a music director, I just love being in rehearsal. I love discovering things in the music that you didn't know were there. I love how you could think you have a version, that's the version, then suddenly you just have an an idea and you take it in a different direction and it feels like it should have been that way all along. So it doesn't feel like an effort to keep it fun and fresh because the process is that by itself. And the good thing about this kind of process is that just when you have it and you're in the rehearsal room and you're ready to go, then you get thrown on set and you have all these other challenges that come your way that you have to rehearse and get used to. So I feel like this process will never feel stale or that it's been tired in any way, because we're going to constantly be throwing things at these performers, and then they get to watch it and sit back and see the beautiful things that they've created. It's important to have voices in your life, parents, teachers, that will never judge and will talk you through it. So to dramatize that and then show how an outlet to that is the arts. I studied piano from the age of 4, and I just remembered there were times when I couldn't deal with certain things, and being in the practice room and playing a piece, sometimes I would even just go away. Actually, there's a moment in Next to Normal, there's a song called Everything Else, where Natalie is practicing, and then it becomes a song. It becomes sort of she's ruminating and thinking things through. That's sometimes what happens. You're able to work things out when you're on stage or rehearsing something. So I think that what's so wonderful about this is that it depicts real life, it has real challenge on these kids, and then shows how arts can help you work through that and be so inspiring and help shape you as an adult.